Hello, welcome back to the Villa View. It's time for the post-match pint in association with Purity Ale. If you use the code #VillaView, you'll get 10% off everything Purity have to offer, including their newly designed Villa cans, which I've got a few in my fridge. They're very, very nice, and I'm really enjoying them. So if you want some Villa beer, some Villa Ale, go and check out Purity's good store and get yourself 10% off. I'm joined by Omar to discuss Leeds United 0, Aston Villa 0. A real thrill ride after the actual thrill ride that was the Manchester derby, Omar, and frustrating for Villa, probably in a different way to some of the other games. I don't think we were actually that bad in the second half when Leeds went down to 10 men, but it's really lacking a cutting edge. And for all the chances Villa had and all the ball they had, I never really felt like we were going to score.
Yeah, it's a similar story, isn't it, to what we've seen against 10 men for a while now. I think apart from the Sheffield United game, which was obviously the first game during the COVID season, when Martinez saved that pen and Konza scored the winner, I don't think we've beaten 10 men.
It's been a constant struggle, hasn't it? It happened a few
constant
times
struggle.
under Smith.
So it's not just a Gerrard thing. But it was evident when the second half where we just had no idea. We'll come on to the second half and what I think we should have done and what we could have done to try and force ourselves and impose us in that game. But I agree with you. I tweeted at half time. I thought we weren't that bad. I thought we did pretty well. But I suppose looking back on it, I think that was probably my low expectations following the Southampton game in terms of how we played that game. And I thought the tactics were not spot on, but I thought it was the right approach in terms of we knew Leeds were going to be up for it. We know they're a pressing side. They play 100 miles an hour. We knew it was going to be a difficult game from that respect. So we try to keep it tight and keep it quiet, keep the crowd quiet, and frustrate them, which I kind of understand. The wider point of whether we, as Aston Villa, given the amount of money we've spent, should be doing that is another question. But I sort of get it, and I think we created decent openings in the first half. Not loads, but I think 3 or 4, openings. I think Ollie Watkins, the through ball by Ashley Young, in particular, I think that was the key moment for me, really. I think even more so than the second half chance that he had. I think that was the chance. And I know he's got a finishing coach, but I sometimes do wonder, are they teaching him how to dink it over? Because he always tends to go hard and low, and that is exactly where how most keepers sort of try and save the ball, sort of spread themselves out, don't they? Especially Melier. And yeah, I think it made it easier for the keeper. I think if he tries to dink it over, a bit like what Archer does and what we've seen him do time and time again, that sort of dink, it makes it a lot harder for keeper. So I think that was probably the key moment. And then other moments in the first half, I thought, Bailey put in a good cross and Watkins takes it away from McGinn. Bailey again shot with his right foot. To be honest, he probably looked better with his right foot than his left foot in that game. Straight at the keeper. And then Ramsey at the end as well. Not many people have spoken about it, but right at the end of the first half, I think, he does well good ball by McGinn, and he does well to sort of cushion it down. And, he couldn't just quite get a foot on it. And he gets a foot on it, I think it goes in. And he just didn't quite have the composure. So there were moments in the first half, and I think we were probably the better team, apart from Rodrigo's chance, which, Konza sort of just sat there and, gave him an open invitation to have a shot. But I thought there were moments in the first half, and I thought we were okay. I got absolutely lambasted for saying that.
No, I think you're
I thought
probably
we played
right.
well,
I think
but
the way you've just spoke about it, I mean, you're away. Leeds isn't an easy place to go. I didn't like some of the stuff that Gerrard said in his post-match, but I kind of understand him saying about there's a plan to try and frustrate them, because if you do that, the crowd will get on their back. So I understand where he's coming from that. And we did have openings, and actually 0-0 at half-time.
yeah,
It wasn't a thrill ride. I didn't think it was too bad. I've certainly seen us play worse recently in first half of away games. And when you've lost every single away game as well, 0-0 leads at halftime wasn't a terrible result. But I guess it's the second half that will frustrate people, because you have played an entire half against 10 men. And although you've had 19 shots throughout the game, like I said at the start, I never really felt like we were going to score. Never quite felt like we had the nous. The Watkins chances, I don't know whether I'm being kind, I didn't think any of them were gimmies. I thought Melier was out quick for a lot of them. Maybe one I felt he could have done better with, but I don't think it was like he was out there missing absolute sitters, and he did work himself the angle a couple of times. I do think some of the criticism of him is a little bit harsh, to be fair, but I guess if the Coutinho one off the post straight after they've gone down to 10 men goes in, that was the one where I thought Watkins was off for. I don't know what he's trying to do. I don't know why he's gone with his right foot. But if that goes in, it is a completely different game. So All in
Yeah,
all, it's just frustration, isn't it? That's where
yeah,
we're
it
all at
is.
the moment with Villa every single week.
I,
Even when we won 1-0 last week, there's still frustrations. And just every time we watch a Steven Gerrard Villa side, I guess we're frustrated at the moment.
Ultimately, in football, it's about moments, isn't it? And you score. Coutinho scores that goal. Hits it inside the post, goes in. We're talking completely different about the game. We're talking about how we've done well against Leeds, going away from home, and we frustrated them, and we've created chances and openings. We won the game. It's one of those. But if we draw the game, then obviously it's frustrating. But I think the key thing for me really is, we're so, and we've said this so many times. I hate to go over old ground, but it's so true. We're still relying so much on individual moments.
Yeah, it's too off the cuff.
It's too off the cuff. There's no plan. Obviously we're missing our attacking fullback, so I appreciate that. But the fact that the only attacking substitution we made is the 82nd minute, it's baffling to me. Taking Bailey off, I know Bailey wasn't fantastic, but he had just a few moments before put in an excellent cross with his right foot to Coutinho to hit the post. And when you're playing against 10 men, you need to stretch the pitch out wide. And we're relying on that whole second half on Konza as our right back, as our main outlet, really, to create something and offer us width. And Konza again played well defensively, and he tried his best on the right wing back position, really. But that is the key moment, really, where you just need to keep Bailey on the pitch and let him stretch the pitch and let him get on one-on-one. And the key game there, key moment after the man gets sent off to bring Bandira in and play him as number 8. That is the moment. If you're going to play Bandira, we've talked about it before. I've always been a bit hesitant, but if you're playing against 10 men, that is that's he's basically playing number 8 anyway.
Go 4-2-3-1.
Yeah, exactly. It makes take Ramsey off, take McGinn off. I don't care. Take one of them off, sacrifice one of the players, midfield players, and try and win the game. And again, it shows you the cautious approach. And I kind of get it. Going there to frustrate Leeds. They are a good side on song at home, especially. But at the end of the day, we've got such a better squad than them. We've spent so much money. We've got the attacking talent that we've talked about before. That's really the wrong mentality to go in, and it's a really frustrating mentality considering where we've been under Dino. And for all his faults, Dino always had a positive attitude towards games. I think he always, more often than not, there were a few exceptions, sure, but more often than not, he went in with the game trying to win the game. And I think we went in there to try and draw the game. And the fact that at that moment in time, we didn't take one of the midfielders off and try and get Bandira as an 8 and try and create more chances, bring in Ings on earlier. Archer will come on to in a second, obviously Gerrard's post-match comments, but that is the frustrating thing for me. I think we saw a wrestling on Lawrence, and again the reaction when Ollie misses that chance. It wasn't an easy chance that second half. At the end of the day, those moments, especially that first half chance, I think that was probably an easier chance. Those moments cost you games. That's when you need a good striker to finish that chance, and that wins you games, and it can get you an extra sort of 8-9 points a season. But the Gerrard's reaction at the end, the second half, when he misses that chance, says it all for me. He's out of nothing. Bandira's flicked the ball over, and Watkins is gone. His drag, his touch is taking him wide, but I don't think he could have done much else. And it was sort of a half a chance of that angle with the keeper coming out. And Gerrard's like, "Oh my god, what more can I do? What? It's like he's come up with this master plan, and that is a frustrating thing for me. It's like looking at the reaction. It's like, again, he's relying on these moments, thinking, "Well, my players aren't good enough." And he sort of said it at the end as well. He's talking about, we needed better quality, and we needed to be more ruthless in that final third. And he says the same thing over and over again. And apart from this game, we did create chances. We had an XG of near two goals, which is pretty high. Apart from this game, most games we don't create that many chances. So again, I don't think you can point to we're lacking quality. I think we're just not creating enough, and we're not. It's obvious to me. We've said it before. We're not working on patterns of play in the final third and how
that's my biggest grievance with Villa at the moment. I understand the wanting to solidify in defence because, especially away from home, we were way too open. The Crystal Palace game was embarrassing at times, the way they were cut through the middle of us, even Bournemouth to an extent. We were way too open, too easy to play through. He's had to do something about that, and he's done it. 1 goal conceded in 3 games. You applaud the defence for that, and you say, fine, that they've had to do something there. And what they've done defensively, it has worked. Now, that will always come at a cost, attacking-wise. That's a given. It's always going to cost you going forward. If you try and solid things up, you're not going to be quite as good going forward. Not that we were brilliant anyway. But it is those patterns of playing, feeling like they've worked on something and building those relationships going forward. That's my biggest grievance at the moment. Now, the off-the-cuff phrase that I'm using, I've not come up with that phrase myself. I've spoke to a couple of ex-players, and
Hmm.
they've all used that term.
Yeah.
It's too off the cuff. And this is what we used to say about Steve Bruce. Now, you could almost get away with it under Steve Bruce in the Championship that season. We nearly went up because we did have such a good squad compared to a lot of the teams that we were playing against. I'm not convinced, although I think we've got a good team, I'm not convinced the whole package of the team is good enough to play off the cuff. And it isn't, because we're not far superior than all these teams that we're playing against. If we're playing off the cuff, we're not miles better than Leeds to go and get away with doing that like we were in the Championship. So it's just not coming together. And so Gerrard said we turn the corner, and again, I mean, everything Gerrard says at the moment, he's going to get scrutinised. He's not popular. He's going to get panned for everything he says, which is a little bit unfair, because again, when he's saying we've turned the corner, I don't think he's saying we're this swashbuckling finished article that's going to go and finish top half of the league. I think he's saying we've turned a corner defensively because we've solided it up, and then the next thing we need to do now is try and find a balance and make ourselves better going forward. But I just can't see how that's going to happen, because in the entirety of 2022, I feel like we are talking about the same things all the time.
Yeah, and what anything, like I said, anything Gerrard says is going to be scrutinised. And if he said, "Oh, we're a million miles away from where we want to be," he'll get scrutinised for that. It's one of those things. Every single thing gets analysed, overanalyzed. So I don't pay too much attention to that. But what I do pay attention to is what's happening on the pitch. And you're right; it's off the cuff, it's chaotic, whatever you want to call it. It's not working. And people will say, "Well, we've managed to get 5 points from the last 3 games or whatever it is."
Most would have taken that.
Yeah, but actually, you need to take a step back, and I think this is where fans need to demand more. I think most fans are on the same page, but we've taken 8 points from 8 games.
Yeah, that's poor.
And on the face of it, you think that's poor, but it's not the worst start. You win a game, you win a couple of games, you push right at the table. But you look at the fixtures we've had, look at the teams we faced as well. Apart from Man City, where we did really well, and probably our best performance of the season, probably.
That's the only game I've enjoyed so far this season.
Yeah, apart from that, we've played. Let's look at it. Okay, we played a Bournemouth team that got panned 9-0 a week or so afterwards, and one of the worst teams in the league. We've played Everton, who at the time were one of the worst teams in the league. West Ham, massively struggling, again being one of the worst teams in the league. Who else have we played? I forget now. Southampton, we beat them, but that was a bloody hard work to win that game. Crystal Palace
haven't done great.
Haven't done great apart from beating us. I don't think they've won another game, have they? From memory, or maybe they've won a couple. I'm not sure, but they haven't done that amazingly well apart from us. Leeds were there for the taking again. They weren't fantastic at all. Even with 11 men, I didn't think they were that great at all, and were there for the taking. And really, when you look at it and you analyse it, you think there's so many missed opportunities there, and there will come a point in time where we'll regret that, because we'll have a hard run of games where we'll play 3 or 4 difficult teams, and we'll struggle to get points. And getting 1 point a game in these games, in the teams that we face, in the position they're in the context of where we're facing them, is bad. And my worry now
as well, who are obviously top, but that was a
performance
again.
Yeah, again, it wasn't a good performance, and we got battered. But okay, fair enough. Arsenal, that's fair enough. Actually, I forgot about that game, but still, I still think we should be more than 8 points. My worry is, we'll continue to play this brand of football, which is fine. At least it's something. It's better than nothing. It's better than being stubborn and trying to play the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. But
it's not sustainable, though.
It's not sustainable. It's not.
You can't do that across the whole season.
No,
you just can't.
I don't know what you think. It seems like on the face of it, the players are committed. They're winning. Like that first half, why I thought we played well was we were winning second balls. I thought Ramsey, yeah, exactly. And Ramsey and Louise in particular, I thought were excellent in that first half in midfield.
We had 15 shots against Bournemouth to just flash up at the bottom of the.
Yeah. But I can't remember hardly any on target, did we? I don't remember any on target.
I don't remember 15 shots. I barely remember 2-3 shots.
Yeah, our XG was tiny. It was terrible that game. It was a stat
staggered by that at the bottom of the screen. Took me by surprise.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at again, 18 shots against Leeds. But I mean, you think about it, what was the clearest cut chance apart from that Ollie Watkins first half chance? I can't. Even the Watkins one, the rebound, Coutinho off of Coutinho, like why does it go with the right foot? But it's one of those, it hits the post, you don't know where it's going to fall, do you?
You just have to relatively quickly.
Came quickly, and it's he's sort of falling that way. It's coming that side again. I don't think that's a difficult chance. Actually, the one who was offside, the header, that was the one I was like, it wouldn't have counted anyway. But I was like, what is he doing? Why has he headed it over that first half? Konza's was the worst miss of the game. No one's really talked about it, but he had an open goal at the back post. The keeper's missed it completely second half, and he's headed it wide. That was the big chance of second half. But again, Buendia, people will talk about Gerrard, how Buendia hasn't played. Luis played, yes, but he has hardly featured. These two players continue to be.
Luis is only playing because Kamara's injured.
Exactly, and they've been some of our brightest performers again, and not really getting a look in. So again, something else that fans can sort of beat him over the head with. But now we go into a game against Forest, and they lost 4-0 today, struggling, a team you can get at. If we go there and try and frustrate them or play the same kind of turgid football, then
But at the moment, I think that's what we will do.
Yeah, and we should. And I just don't want to see that. This is the time where these are the kind of games where you can actually try and play the brand of football that you want. And again, the noises coming out of the club is really frustrating. Gerrard saying a few weeks ago, I tried to do too much too soon. Perslow at the Villa Trust meeting saying, we're a work in progress. The football is a work in the football philosophy or strategy or style of play is a work in progress.
Can't remember if that is the case. If that is the case, but I wasn't there. I've not seen many quotes from it. So I don't think you're lying to me for a second. But if we're saying that the football philosophy is a work in progress, then you're not working on it if you're going back to basics and you're playing in that way. That isn't working on your new philosophy, is it? That's going and doing something completely different.
Yeah, work in progress is, you expect to see some hints and signs of progression, don't you?
It's a dismal example here. Yeah, people are going to laugh at the example I'm about to give. That first season under Paul Lambert, we started off a season, we were getting panned.
Yeah.
But I give him his due. I could at least see what he was trying to do at that point. And later on in the season, we did get better, and he did stick with that in his first season. And then by the end of the season, we had a front three of Gabby, Benteke, and Weimann, and we started to thrive. And we did well and picked up some good results. And Benteke got 23, 24 goals, whatever it was that season. But at the start of the season, we got battered by Everton at home, one of the games. But he stuck with the philosophy. This isn't sticking with the philosophy or trying to make a philosophy work. It's going back and doing something that's completely different, and then kind of like waiting till you're ready for the new philosophy. But how do you get ready for the new philosophy? By going back and doing something completely different.
But just all the noises come out of the club. I don't want to be negative. I want more than anything in the world for Villa to progress, for Perslow to be done right, for Gerrard to be the right man.
Yeah, man, I want Gerrard to do well.
We all want the well, but completely, if they were a work in progress, why the hell are we spending so much money on 28, 29-year-olds and paying them so much in wages when we're going to be a work in progress? So it was a wasted season last season. It's going to be a wasted season this season. Teams are going to catch up. Teams are going to go surpass us, likes of Newcastle, Crystal Palace, etc. It's not a work in progress. It's like listening to a politician, honestly. It's really, really frustrating. There's no point buying Danny Ings. There's no point buying the likes of Diego Carlos and Martinez and these players who are 28, 27, 28 years old in the peak of their careers and saying we're trying to work on we're a work in progress. Yeah, you can say that about Arsenal 2 years ago. That is a work in progress because they're buying 21, 22-year-olds. But we're buying players in the peak and paying them peak wages without any sell-on value. That's
also don't recall us being a work in progress in the summer when everyone was talking. That's the other thing with it.
Last year we're going to be much better next year. Players, we're looking to improve in key areas in the pitch. We want real quality, add real quality to the team. Top 7 is the aim. All this kind of noise is coming out, and now apparently we're a work in progress. But at the same time, the Villa Trust me, they're like, "Oh, we didn't see the Bournemouth result coming." Yeah, well, fair enough, but it's one game. It doesn't matter.
You can forgive one game, can't you?
You can forgive one game, but it's been the same for 8 games, and the noise is coming out, and the complete. I just feel like a real disconnect. And people will say, "Well, it could be worse. We were in the Championship. We nearly went out of business." Yeah, I completely agree. We're in so much better position. But the frustrating thing is, under Dean Smith, and at the end of the day, I wasn't against Dean Smith being sacked. I think it probably was the right decision. I was against Gerrard coming in. But at the end of the day, when we were doing really well against Dean Smith, under Dean Smith, we were looking like the best, or we could be the best of the rest. And we were looking like we were in a real position of strength to push on and make that next step up and buy quality. And now I look at it since then, and Jack's gone, Grealish is gone, and I completely understand he's an irreplaceable player. But we spent good money. We've got a scouting system. We've got the likes of Johan Lange, Rob McKenzie in charge to bring people in that can help, to replace him in a way, as best as you can. But you look at the team, we've got Anwar Ghazi, Bertrand Traore, Trezeguet all gone out of the team. Is anyone in that team now performing better than them or adding anything more than they did?
They're
I
not,
would,
but you can't argue that the players that we brought in are better players, although we're not functioning any better as a team. I would say, those three have gone. Let's say you've now got Buendia, Bailey, and Coutinho. They are better players, aren't they?
yeah, no, I completely agree. I think I was so happy when we signed Bailey, for example.
Me too.
But yeah, I think I think he's been poor. He's shown flashes in this season, but I also think he's not being helped at all. By being taken off at the wrong moments,
I mean, when you play
by
90
playing in a
minutes, you play 90 minutes against Man City, and then the next two games you've done an hour, I think it is.
yeah, and that game on Sunday against Leeds, that was the perfect. I know he wasn't. I know he ran into a few blind alleys, but
He
he
wasn't
still
having a good game.
he wasn't having a good game. But no one's having a really good game. Let's be honest. And he still put in two decent crosses and create something, and had a decent shot. And that is the game you want a winger. That is the game you want when they're 10 man down. That's when we want someone who's good. And Bailey is good 1-on-1. If you get him 1-on-1, he is good. That's the kind of game you want to give him a chance, and you take him off. Again, I don't understand. And he's playing this inverted right winger, narrow number 10 or whatever. Again, not his position, so again doesn't suit him. So I don't blame him for that. But you've got so much attacking talent there, and you're right. There are
Well,
on paper
I can't even
Coutinho.
work out if that is what we're doing anymore. I'm not sure
No,
whether we are doing that, whether we are 4-3-3 and they're playing a bit wider, because Coutinho seems relatively wide, more so than he was last season.
I don't
We
know.
kind of go from having the fullbacks bombing and the central midfielders covering them off. That seems to have gone now. And McGinn's back to the left-hand side, which I actually think suits him better. But then Ramsey's operating from the right, which I don't think suits him. So you've kind of you get rid of one problem and create a new one. It's just, you could tell we were playing the two number 10s at times last season, obviously when it was Coutinho and Buendia there. I genuinely couldn't tell you if we're playing 4-3-3 with players playing wide or if we're playing 4-3-3 with two narrow people playing off the striker. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, and again, going back to what we said before, it'd be nice to know what they're actually working on behind the scenes. But all I see in the training clips is them just working on shooting, and that's it. And that's
We
they
scored
play.
some goals in training.
Yeah,
Scored
they've
some
scored
goals in
some
training.
absolutely. Yeah, Paul Watkins is brilliant in training. They're all brilliant in training. But the amount of times they, it's like Cuts is there and they play a one touch to him and he lays it off and they shoot. That's all well and good in training, but in reality, in real games, that's not how it works. And again, going back to what we said earlier, I don't think the players know what positions they're playing. I think they're just, it's sort of, let's keep it compact. This is the positions we want to be in off the ball. When we got the ball, just do what you want, really. It doesn't look like there's anything more than that. The amount of times we have the ball in midfield and no one shows for it, even when they were down to 10 men, the amount of times the centre backs had the ball and no one came for it. Again, we had to play. We're relying on Konza and Ashley Young to build our play up, and that's just not. It's just never going to work. And yeah, we created a few chances, but it was more it wasn't out of design. It was because of bad Leeds play. Either them giving the ball away, not marking players, or being a bit chaotic at the back. It wasn't because we've worked the ball through and we've played good 1-2s, etc. It was nothing like that. It was not like we had it didn't look like we had the extra man to me when we had the ball. To be honest, I don't know what you thought.
At times, maybe when Buendia came on, because he actually moves.
Yeah,
It's so static. Buendia, at least, he doesn't stay in one position. He doesn't stay still. He's always on the move. Buendia looking for the ball, looking for little pockets. Straight away he had one from range, and that he curled just wide. That was really unlucky. But you're right on the movement. It's just so static. I think McGinn said something after the game about perhaps we could have put more crosses in the stuff. No, I want to say less. I want to say less of that, please.
No, again.
It's just hit and hope. It's not crossing the ball. Unless you're Man City and the way they do it.
Yeah, you got De Bruyne who's playing across from the middle of the pitch.
Scoring goals from ridiculous angles with his ridiculous legs and stuff.
No one crossed the ball. You look at the way Brighton played against Liverpool. I hate to go on about Brighton, but just other teams as well, Palace, whoever it is, they've all got a style of play. They're all
Brighton
working towards something.
Liverpool around some lovely stuff. I mean, Liverpool are easier to play against at the moment than they have been.
Yeah.
Liverpool, I watch Liverpool and think they're a bit off the cuff at the moment as well. Swinging the ball in with crosses. They're like a better version of Villa at the moment, Liverpool.
Yeah, and all these teams, they look. I said it before. I said when it was on all the games were on Prime. I watched all the different games, and pretty much every team just looked so well coached and play with such a quicker pace than we do. And again, I just don't know. It's not sustainable the way we're playing. It's all well and good playing and trying to get results in the short term, but long term you're going to get found out. I do think, looking at the positive side, it does benefit our defenders the way we play now. Martinez, obviously, we got another clean sheet. I think Mings and Konza, in particular, have
Suits
been very
Consider's
good.
defensive style, I will say. He's been 100 times better since we've gone to this back to basics approach. It's a bit just because the distances are smaller and that it's more compact. That's how we defended under Smith for large portions of his time in the Premier League, and that was when we were talking about Conser for England, and he was having a good time. But we were defending in that kind of same way, which I'm not against some of the approach that we've got defensively. I just would like to see something going forwards to feel like we're improving, because I don't feel like we've improved in 12 months nearly going forward. If anything, I feel like we've managed to get progressively worse.
Yeah,
over 12 months going forward.
And midfield is still a big issue for me, and I just think, and you mentioned off air about Mings and taking the captaincy off him and his performances.
I think it's about, it's not something I didn't agree with the way the captaincy was handled at all. Didn't like it one bit, and I went on various things and said that I didn't like it. I'd have done things differently if I was a manager. But if you just look at the single aspect of Steven Gerrard said, this will help Tyrone Mings, him not being captain. He's probably been our best player this season.
Yeah. Tyrone Mings has been brilliant, and I completely agree with that in some respect. But I also think Tyrone Mings was good before when he was captain. I think he's been good for 6 months.
He was making mistakes towards the back end of last season.
He did, and he made mistakes against that Man City game.
Leeds as well. He gave away 2 or 3 of the goals were on him.
I do think he's been a lot better. Whether that's because of what Gerrard's done or in spite of what Gerrard's done,
you don't know, do you?
You don't know causation, correlation. You just don't know. So from that respect, that's one thing. But I think the biggest issue for me is, I hate to bang on about it, but now you've given the captaincy to McGinn, you're really, really shoehorning yourselves into a really bad position. I think, I didn't think he was bad against Leeds. I thought actually the game suited his hustle and bustle style. But
I think he's been better the last 2 games.
Yeah, he has been better. But I think, again, when you're down to 10 men, when you're playing against 10 men, he's just the wrong type of player. I can't remember whether it was the first half or second half, where he had the ball, he gets it so far out, and there's options all down the right and left-hand side, and he just chooses to shoot. And he goes wide of the goal. That is where McGinn really frustrates you, where you just think, just switch on your football brain there. Build the play up. Why are you shooting? We've got the ball in a good area. The probability of that going in, it's so low, and that's what frustrates me. But the biggest thing for me is we really struggle in midfield to build the play, and we've sort of shoehorned ourselves into now playing this sort of turgid style where we're relying on Ollie Watkins to pick the ball out of nothing, and then Coutinho and Bailey to feed off him. And at the moment, neither McGinn or Ramsey are good on the ball. They don't come deep to bring the ball or pick the ball up and turn and create something. We're relying on Douglas Luiz to do something in midfield, and he's always by himself. He's got no options. And again, it makes it really difficult for us to build any play up or play any sort of discernible style. And you can't drop him. I know he's been subbed a lot, but you can't drop him. And we're in a real bad position, because we've said it time and time again. Ideally, you play with a double pivot. You open yourself up going forward. You protect your back four. You can still play in a deeper style and play not turgid football, but a bit more defensive. But then you've got options going forward, and can be a bit more expansive going forward, and not have to rely on your fullbacks, especially in this. This is a key point. A particular. Trying to get my words out, but a great opportunity for us to change our style of football, because we haven't got our first choice fullbacks, and we rely on them to attack. If we've got defensive fullbacks like Ashley Young and Augustinson or Konza, then that is the time to then, again, I hate to go over all ground, but that was the time to try something different. Play Dougie and McGinn as the 2, and let Coutinho, Buendia, Bailey and Ings or Watkins, whoever it is, try and do something in the front four position.
Ramsey might be helped out if we played a 4-2-3-1, because then I think he can play from the left in some games. Yeah. And I think that he was very good there against Manchester City. I think he's kind of getting lost in central midfield. I don't think that central midfield 3 is ever going to work for Luiz, McGinn and Ramsey. I don't think there's enough in there as a combination for that to work. But I will say the way we set up helps literally none of them.
Yeah,
it doesn't let any of them do what they're good at. And my issue I have with the McGinn stuff at the moment is I think he's coming in for so much stick, like unfairly. So some horrible stuff being said about him, which he completely doesn't deserve. I think he's been better the last couple of games, and I think he saved a goal
Yeah,
the end of the game. I think defensively
100%.
he's better than he gets credit for. But then playing so defensively, we don't get to see the things that he's good at all.
Hmm.
Passing isn't McGinn's strong suit. That
No.
isn't what he's good at as a central midfielder. Ideally, you'd have a number 6 and then you'd have a number 8 in there that's a good passer as well. But Villa don't have that. Villa don't play in that way. So I think, some of the stick McGinn's getting is completely unfair because I think it comes from the way that we're set up. And I don't think, he didn't ask to be captain. He's taking on extra stick because he's captain. That's not his decision. Last season, Ming seemed to be the one that was getting absolutely panned, and he was captain. Now he's not captain. It feels like everyone loves Mings. I mean, I always have, but it feels like everyone loves Mings, and now everything seems to be on McGinn to the point where, if he's not the one coming and doing the post-match interview, he's getting slated.
Yeah, I don't get
That
that.
changes every game regardless. That has been that's been the case for years. That's the
We
case
we
for
always
every
we,
Premier
we
League club.
always
It's stupid.
we always need a scapegoat, don't we?
I think it's gone too far with McGinn now. Me personally, would that have been my decision to make him captain? No.
No.
I think if you were going to change the captain, you give it Martinez because he's going to play every week. He's a bit of a leader. He's going to the World Cup, got a good chance of winning the World Cup with Argentina in December and being a big part of that. To take away the pressure off the whole team and every player that's there, it's a no-brainer to give him the captaincy because he's going to play every week. There's no discussion points there. Some of the reasons that Gerrard gave for taking the captaincy off Mings, those criticisms could be levelled at McGinn, but that's not McGinn's fault. I do think some of the stick he's getting at the moment is incredible. You can't blame him for everything. And he hasn't been bad the last couple of games. I'm the first to say when he's had a bad game because I actually think he's a good footballer. He could be a very useful player for Villa if Villa were a better team. I think the stick he's getting at the moment is completely unjust. Just the nature of it, I think it's really, really, really unfair. And like you say, there always has to be someone who's getting absolutely panned. There's various players over there. Like Connor had it at one point where he was getting singled out and getting some really unfair criticism. It was Mings last season. Now it seems to be McGinn. We've got to stop this. If people have bad games, criticise them. I'll come on here and do it every single week. There was a point where I said I didn't think Conser was playing well and I thought he needed taken out for his own good. But then I can sit here and say 2-3 games after, I think he's improved. I think he's been good. There's people now that have set their sights on McGinn. People saying he shouldn't even be at the club. Come on, that's just not right.
No, I completely agree. And again, I think it points to the fact I don't think the players are helped at all by the way that we play.
No.
McGinn,
Especially the midfielders.
McGinn, I'm one of those with McGinn where I think he shouldn't have been made captain and he should be not a squad player, but he should be an option for us. He shouldn't be the first name on the team sheet. He should probably start most games, but if he's not playing well, then you should be able to change him and making him captain. He's not one of our best players anymore.
I think it's put him under pressure that he doesn't need.
Again, yeah, I think it was completely the wrong decision from that perspective, and I think the games have probably suited his style of play the last few times. The way that we're playing in the games that we've played in, it probably suited him. It's probably why we've seen a better version of McGinn. But long term, the way that Gerrard wants to play, I don't see how McGinn fits in that style of play.
But Gerrard talks about McGinn like he's
but it doesn't
a version of him. You see, I think Gerrard sees something in McGinn that he had himself as a player. And
I don't see it.
I think they're very different players.
I agree, and I think Gerrard McGinn's done well for Scotland playing further forward, but again, he scored against League Two opposition. But I still think there's no reason why we couldn't play in that way and play him in the number 10 position.
You could give him a bit more freedom to get in the box,
give him more freedom forward,
things like that.
Yeah.
That would help him no end if he could do that.
Don't rely on him to build up the play. But again, it's the way that we play. Another big issue for me is just the general PR of the club as well, and the disconnect between the fans and the club. And I've mentioned it earlier, but we didn't really expand on it. But the post-match comments with the Archer stuff, the stuff going on with the club cancelling the tours for the fans and things like that, and just the general. I don't know if there's arrogance or delusions of grandeur or what it is, but I don't think Perslow and Co. I don't know about the owners because we don't hear from them, but I don't think they're in touch with the fan base, the heartbeat of the fan base. I think the majority of the fan base are really, really worried about us and concerned about where we're heading. And if it was just, if you look at the context overall, yes, we've improved most seasons and we're in the Premier League now. We look at it again compared to where we were, but in the context of what we've spent and the wages we're spending, and the revenue we're bringing in and the profile of the club now, I just don't think it's good enough. And I don't think Perzo sees that. I don't think he's in touch with the fan base. I think they're seeing it as well. We've got 5 points from 3 games, whereas we've turned a corner. The players are playing for him, but any fan looks at that team, looks at the way we're playing, they can see which way we're heading. I just do not see where we're going to improve. And I think the comments from Gerrard after the game again were big eye opener for me. He's obviously gone to the Steve Bruce of PR. I think I get the same kind of feeling. I know we talked earlier about everything to be scrutinised, but I don't think he helps himself by being combative.
I will say on the Ashley Priest thing that I've spoken to someone who was at that press conference, and he said it was nowhere near as cutting as it comes across in text form. If you were there and you heard it, it was almost like a little joke, because Ashley Priest had apparently asked about Cameron Archer on Friday in the Friday press conference as well. So it was almost like a follow on from then. The person who was there, everyone will know who he is anyway. But he said it was nowhere near. It wasn't meant as something that was cutting or to shoot him down. It was like a joke. It was done in a jokey way. That's what I've been told. But I agree with some of the stuff that he said is concerning. And again, one of my concerns I have at the moment, this is unfounded, completely my own opinion. I don't know any facts around this whatsoever. It feels like the way we're playing is more to protect Steven Gerrard than it is to build Aston Villa, kind of save his reputation, because we were losing games and we weren't looking good, and his reputation, if he gets the sack, gets damaged. If he was to get the sack now, I think he'd have something that he could say, I got the sack when we got 5 points from the last 9 available. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know Steven Gerrard. I've met him very briefly once and shook his hand, but I've never had a conversation with him. I don't know that's just how it's coming across to me, and that could be completely unfounded.
I don't know if it's because we got spoilt with Dean Smith and Jack Grealish being at the club at the same time, and we had a real connection with them. But maybe it's me reading too much into it. But I just don't feel that warmth from Gerrard to the fan base or to the club. I don't feel like he really gets the club. I don't feel like he sees.
No, I think it's hard. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I don't think it would be hard for anyone coming in after Smith.
And that's what I mean. That's what I mean. I think maybe looking at a sort of a critical eye, maybe I'm being too harsh.
When he first came in, I did feel like he got it. Some of the stuff he was saying, I did feel like he understood.
Maybe it's the results and the negativity of the club.
Pressure does things to people, and he is under pressure.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe you're right. I think you're right, and I think looking at it, probably stepping away from it and looking at it, I think maybe it was always going to be difficult for someone to come in. We're never going to have a connection to a manager like we had with Dino, because they're very much unlikely going to be a Villa fan or have a close connection to the club. So it's always going to be someone distant. And maybe I'm reading too much into it because
it's all about results, isn't it? Obviously we were spoiled because I was spoiled as a kid because, Brian Little, John Gregory, big connections to the club. I'm trying to think of successful Villa teams in my time. Dean Smith obviously got us promoted. That I would class that as being successful. Again, another Villa connection. The only other successful team we've had was under Martin O'Neill. But because you're getting the results, you don't need to have the connection. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get it. I think, and again, back to what we said right at the beginning, Coutinho scores that goal. I think we're talking about this game completely different. It could be exactly the same game. Could have the exact same. I think we'd still have some
of the same concerns had we won the game, because we've been saying the same thing all season and the back end of last season. But I think the back end of last season, I know I did. I thought summer's coming. We'll get things together in the summer. We'll be okay. That hasn't been the case, because it has just felt like last season never ended, and now the new players are all injured. It literally is like last season all over again, and that's another. That's going to be difficult for Gerrard at the moment, not having those 2 new players. You even have your backup left back come in and go off injured. It's going to be difficult because he has got the same bunch of players now to work with.
Yeah, and I get that, and it is difficult, but I think that could also be seen as an excuse, because end of the day, people say, we've got the same bunch of players that Dean Smith had. Well, yes and no, because Dean Smith was sacked because he should have been doing better with those players, firstly. Secondly, those games where he lost, look at Brentford game where he lost, for example, we're missing 8 players that game because of COVID and illnesses and things like that. That bad run that he had. And we were missing players throughout that bad run we had at the beginning of the season. It was very... actually the Southampton game where we lost and cost him his job ultimately was probably one of the first games where we had our full strength team and we had players available. But also, more importantly, what I said earlier, Dean Smith lost his job because it wasn't good enough with those players. And Steven Gerrard is performing exactly the same with those same
He had a bad
players. So,
2021, didn't he, Dean?
yeah, but
Realistically.
yeah, I completely agree. And we
We're having
obviously
a bad 2022.
we relied on, but we're having a bad 22, and the board expected better from these players. So why aren't they expecting better from these players now? Even take out Kamara and Carlos aside. At the end of the day, Kamara's been there for all these bad games anyway. This is just the first game he's missed, so I don't think you can use that as an excuse. But these players are still good enough to perform better than they are, and the board thought they were better than they are, better than what they were performing under Dean Smith, and we're doing exactly the same. So why aren't they thinking the same? What's the difference? It's exactly the same players. Yet you take out Kamara and Carlos. If Dean Smith wasn't doing good enough with those players, then how is Gerrard doing good enough? That's sort of maybe a wider question, but I think I don't think Gerrard's going to go because at the end of the day we've got 5 points from 3 games, and in the board's eye they can see as we've turned the corner and the players are playing for him. And I
Always
think
feels like he's a defeat away from just
that's
getting that.
that is the issue. And
That's the problem now.
is it sustainable? That is the key. Fair enough. We go around, we beat Forest, and we go on a run. Yeah, I'll hold my hands up, and I'll be more than happy to be wrong. I'll hold my hands up, and we've both been plenty wrong before. So we've got no issues.
I've made a living off being wrong.
Yeah, so I've got no issues with that. We've got there's the fixtures. We've got.
They aren't brilliant games. I'm going to be. I don't think in my opinion.
No,
Chelsea at home. That'd be interesting. Obviously playing against. The next one they've got to go and win. They've got to go and beat Forest.
Got to beat Forest.
Forest could potentially have a new manager. By then, it'll either be Forest have a new manager or Steve Cooper needs a win to save his job. So
you need 9 points from that game for those 5 games minimum. I think.
Unless Fulham suddenly go on a bad run, I don't think that's an easy game.
Yeah, but again, it's
back up players, Adam.
I just we talked about it earlier, but I just really worry that we're gonna wait and wait and wait and wait, and we're gonna end up in a position where Rodgers goes, where Steve Cooper goes, where obviously the Wolves are looking for a boss now. We're going to be in a position where
Hassan,
we're going to end up in a position where we're last to pull the trigger, and we're sort of feeding off the whatever's remaining, and we're not going to be able to get our pick of a good manager.
You're saying 9 points there. Where are they coming from?
The 3, Forest, Fulham, and Brentford are the 3 games I think we should be winning.
We could do it. We could. Doesn't matter whether Brentford could send out their under 11s. We can't beat Brentford to save our lives.
Oh God! Stop depressing.
I've automatically written that game off already, as we might get a draw if we're lucky.
But yeah, we'll probably get 5 points from that game, from those 5 games, and we'll be 13 points from 13, and we'll then maybe look at getting rid of Gerrard, and Pochettino will be gone. And
it's that thing, isn't it? Now if Wolves suddenly get a bounce off a new manager, they'll we got undoubtedly. I think one of the things that kept us up last season was bringing Gerrard in because we got that bounce initially.
Yeah,
and we get 3 or 4 wins from his first 8 or 9 games. I think ultimately, that probably was what stopped us from being in a relegation battle last season. Just picking up those results when he first came in. I don't know. It's a worrying time. It just doesn't feel settled at all, does it? That's the problem. I'd like to have been at this point, got off to a solid. I don't expect the world, but had the pre-season, get off to a solid start. Feel like you're moving in the right direction at this point because you have had that summer where you've worked on everything. Too much will get put on Beale leaving. I didn't think we were great when Beale was there.
No.
In all honesty, and yes, he's doing a good job at QPR. We'll never know whether we would be sat here in a better position if Beale was still here. But that's the other thing I don't like. I just don't like that an assistant manager leaving can make it's something. Again, that's something Gerrard spoke about, that it's been disruptive and it's made a big difference. Should it make the huge amount of difference that it seems to have done, that people are saying it has? I don't like. That's not normal. It's not normal. That's not how any other football club would be operating.
We're not behaving like a modern football club, are we? This, the face of Gerrard with the coaching staff doing all the work. It's something from a bygone era.
Even the director of the sporting director, it doesn't fit. Do you know what I mean? That he doesn't fit Gerrard, in my opinion.
No, he doesn't fit Gerrard.
I don't think he fitted Dean Smith, really, if I'm being brutally honest.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch, let's look at Edu, for example, at Arsenal.
Fits.
And I know we get the privilege of seeing what happens with the documentary, but he fits.
It's all aligned, isn't it?
It's all aligned. And if we had someone like Tommy Hitzelsberger, for example, Not saying
Get
he'll
him
do a
in.
better
No,
job,
get him
whatever.
in.
But at least he gets the club, and
Get
he
my
gets
friend. Get him in.
what
That
we
would help me. Help me
yeah
no end.
yeah no
Do
yeah
it. Let's do it.
we'll get loads of interviews, won't we?
Yeah.
But there's someone like that, or just someone who gets the club, or even someone who's well established, and again.
This isn't a dig at Langer, by the way, but we had for example,
I'm losing. I'm getting frustrated here,
it's a
but
very basic way of looking at things here.
yeah.
We had a Scandinavian manager, and Langer was the
Yeah.
it makes sense, doesn't it? It fits.
Yeah, let's not hope we don't get Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in.
No.
But yeah, I think we're behaving one respect. We're behaving like a modern football club and like an ambitious club in terms of the money that we've spent, what we're trying to do behind the scenes, and the noises behind the scenes. But it doesn't like flow through in terms of we've sacked Dean Smith, who's got us up, and then we've gone for a rookie manager. We've gone for a sporting director from a place from a league where he was spending £1 million per play and trying to turn into 7-8
He's a
million
relative
pounds.
rookie, isn't he?
He's a relative rookie
European
in the
football,
Premier
really,
in terms of
European football terms.
exactly. So at the minute, 1 minute you're it's like taking over a FTSE 100 company and installing the local post office manager as your CEO. It's that kind of mentality. It doesn't fit. You're trusting a man who, he's done well. He's got a good track record in terms of at that level.
In
You're
Scandinavia.
trusting in Scandinavia, but you're trusting a man with a multi-million-pound business, spending multi-million pounds, hundreds of £1 million a year on players, on assets. At the end of the day, to someone who doesn't have experience, it doesn't make sense. Surely you look at tried and tested, or you look at someone who's shown glimpses or even a track record in that kind of field or that kind of area. And the two key positions where we're on the footballing side where we've done that, we've gone for rookies. And again, it points to a flawed strategy or something not working. It doesn't quite make sense. And going forward, whether we need to do a try and trust it, I'm not sure. And then off the pitch, things like Socios and the season ticket prices and what's happened with the tours, and it's just things like that. There seems like, I don't know, something seems off. Am I reading too much into it? Because
I'm not enjoying this at all because I'm thinking of new things as we're talking that don't feel like they fit right to me. Even Neil Critchley coming in. Okay, he's worked with Gerrard, knows him because he's been at Liverpool, but he's been Blackpool manager. Did well. I'm not disputing that. He comes highly rated as well because he's got that qualification that only about 15 people have got. So he comes with some pedigree, but he's worked with Liverpool Academy and the Blackpool first team, and then that's it. Is that the right kind of person to be coming in and working with the first team day to day? And sounds like he has a heavy say and carries a heavy load. With that, this is me speculating. I don't know the answers to these questions, but even that doesn't really fit. Nothing seems to fit. There's just, I don't know. It just doesn't fit. It doesn't feel right at the moment at all, and it's not a good place to be when you're fading in that way. Now, things behind the scenes might be really rosy. I'm sure they're probably not. But, that could be. I don't know. But even we talk about Langer as the sporting director. The deadline day signings, Dendoncker and Bednarek. He could have probably signed them at any point.
Again,
window, really.
Points to something not right.
Bednarek's come in because Diego Carlos.
Yeah. But we said a transfer deadline day. We did the pod. That Bednarek, that's fine. Given what's happened to Carlos, but
has Dendoncker been identified? I mean, he didn't even get on yesterday. Has Dendoncker been identified as someone
throughout the summer? He's talked about quality and adding, a real presence in there, adding real quality in midfield. Is Dendoncker the guy they looked at the beginning? I don't think so.
I mean, he had size, which is something I think we've been lacking. But I'm not convinced he's going to play.
I'm sorry, but put Peter Crouch in there. It doesn't matter. Size is one thing, but you need quality. And I'm happy. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I think it could be a astute signing. But
judge him, can we?
But again, it doesn't. It feels like something's not married up because the owners are Perslow and Gerrard was talking about top 7 just a few months before the transfer window, and then suddenly you look at the way we behaved in that transfer window in terms of the money spent.
Top 7 thing almost feels like something that I'm starting to doubt whether it was actually said.
Oh, it was definitely said. It was definitely said.
I remember.
It was definitely said.
We made up.
It wasn't in terms of like this. I don't think they were looking at it this season, but I think that's the aim.
Yeah, that's the aim.
They weren't saying top 7 this season, but they definitely said they wanted to finish top half this season, and they wanted to add real quality. And the players, Gerrard said a number of times when we had bad performances at the end of last season, where he said, if the players aren't good enough, we'll get better players. I don't know if you remember that. He
Yeah,
said
no, he
pretty
definitely
much
said that.
those
I
words.
do remember
He
that.
said quite a few often, and was definitely hinting at we're going to get big names. And in the preseason interviews, after we'd signed Kamara, after we signed Collis, he said we need more quality in midfield. He said that 100%. He said that, and signing Dendoncker on deadline day doesn't marry up to what he said. Again, whether it's the owners have lost faith, whether the owners are looking at someone else, or whether they don't trust
It's just
Purslow
a
with the
case of
money.
signing someone because we didn't start well.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it just doesn't make sense. I mean, I'll be interested to see what the listeners think and the viewers think, and I'll be interested to see the comments post this pod, because am I being too negative? Are we being too negative? Are we reading too much into it?
We're not particularly negative people.
No.
I wouldn't say, not my headphone out. Me in general, I've never been negative, but
never.
I feel like there's something not right at Villa at the moment. This isn't me having it in for anyone at all, because no one would be happier than me if Steven Gerrard does well. But please do. I'd love to say that, but just what I'm saying isn't translating to feeling like we're moving forward or heading in the right direction at the moment. And there's been nothing in 2022 that's made me think we're heading in the right direction in the main. There's a couple of results here and there. The Leeds game away last season, Southampton at home. But other than that, I've not sat there at any point and thought, I know I can see where we're going here. I can see what we're doing. And people will talk about Arteta was given time, and look at them now. They look brilliant at the moment. But, he won an FA Cup in his first half of the season.
Yeah,
It was a pretty good start.
Yeah, I'll take us struggling in winning the FA Cup. Yeah. So I'm just laughing. Someone said we need Pogba's witch doctor. Craig Francis. That made me laugh. It feels like we're cursed, doesn't it? It feels like I don't know. It feels like we take one step forward, two steps back.
I just don't know where we're going.
Really. Yeah, I don't know. And I think, I said before the pod, let's talk about the match and let's not try to go
everything,
but we talked about the match as much
as we can.
It all
merges into one at the moment.
It merges into one,
but
I feel like we're talking the same things over and over again, and it's really difficult to move away from that, because it's the same issues time and time again. And until something changes, I think we're going to, these pods, Adam might as well record these pods and just put them out again and again, because I think we're just going to be talking about the same. Yeah, you would love it. Singing his pajamas there. Wish you guys could see.
Don't shame him with his pajamas. I think I might have reindeer on. I'm not sure.
What? Bit early for Christmas, mate, isn't it?
I know.
I did. He's showing us. What are they? Well, I don't want to see a crotch.
No one else.
Jesus,
those are completely useless content.
Oh my god. I did watch my first Christmas movie last week, by the way.
No, get in the bin, Omar.
What? What's wrong
Terrible
with that?
shout. It's October the 3rd. No, Dolan usually has his Christmas tree up by now. His Christmas tree will be going up in the next 24 hours, I would think. Dolan's always got his Christmas tree up.
I think Dolan, if you're listening, mate, you need some joy. So
if we're talking about Dolan's Christmas tree and Adam's pajamas, it's probably time to go. That didn't really go the way I anticipated it would. Come away with more questions than answers, as we normally do, doing these things. But there's a few things to ponder, a few things to think about off the back of that chat, I think. I would say.
Yeah.
Average has enjoyed it. He enjoys everything.
More about where my biggest question is where Adam got his pajamas from. That's my biggest question.
No, I'm going Matalan. Like he's a Matalan guy.
Is it Matalan guy? Yeah, well, the one near Villa Park and the roundabout. That one.
Is there? I don't even know.
You know that?
I've never even noticed it. If there is.
Do you drive in or we get the train in?
Drive.
You never noticed the roundabout near the A5127?
I don't come that way. Don't come that way.
You come
expressway.
From... Do you come literally A38 straight to Villa? Yeah, you don't see it. It's in town. From town, you go that way.
Okay, now we're talking about Matalan. It's definitely time to go. But thank you for joining me, Omar. I enjoyed it in a weird way. But yeah, I don't know what we've done there. I won't sleep now. I got COVID anyway, so I feel terrible. But I'm going to sit there tonight now, pondering all the stuff that we've spoken about.
Yeah, well, I've just come back from football, so I'm wired. So
yeah,
I could talk for another. I could talk about it for another hour. I don't
think anything we said there was harsh or digging anyone out or having a pop. But there's things to think about.
We're both positive. I predicted top 7 for us last season. I'm positive. I'm a positive guy, but I just don't know where I don't see anything that points to any sort of glimmer of hope. I think the one thing you take is that it looks like the players are playing for Gerrard.
I've been told that they are.
They're putting in the effort, and I think they want to do well for him. So from that,
they like him. The players like Gerrard. I can tell you that's genuinely true.
But in modern football, maybe 15 years ago, that could be enough. But I think in modern football, you're still going to get found out modern methods and modern coaches playing modern tactics. I think it's a different ball game. To use a pun, I think it's what all are good playing against the lower quality opposition in the league. But when you come up against better opposition, I think you'll definitely get found out.
Yeah, we played Louise as a 6 against Leeds. We played Louise as a 6 against a good team. Not knocking Louise. I've been very complimentary of him the entire season.
Yeah,
we'd get ripped to shreds because he's not
Yeah.
number 6.
No.
Yeah.
I think Forest is a massive game for me. Massive game. We have to win. We have to win to have any chance of doing anything this season. We have to win that game.
We just don't. I think the fans. I think a big worry in the fan base at the moment is having last season was just such a waste, and we were just waiting for it to end. We were probably never really going to go down after Christmas, but we were never really going to do anything either. And there would have been an easier opportunity to finish 8th, 9th last season because it wasn't a high standard of Premier League. I think it's a higher standard. I think it's a better teams in the league this season in general. The teams are better quality. It's a strong Premier League. But if we just end up having another season like last season, it can be a little bit soul-destroying. And I don't think to be on the realms of possibility that we get dragged into something this season at the moment.
No.
I'm not saying anything that's telling me that you can be confident we won't be in trouble this year.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But
I don't think that's you being negative. I think it's being realistic. You get 8 points from 8 games.
I would say, if you had to say to me, are we more likely to push towards the top half or are we more likely to be embroiled in a relegation battle? I'd say the relegation battle at the moment.
Which is an absolute travesty given the players that we've got, even with the injuries.
Yeah, it shouldn't be happening, but it could.
What a note to finish the pod on.
Yeah, there you go. If you weren't down before, I've ended it there brilliantly. Let's talk about Adam's pyjamas again, just before we go. No, that'll do us. Longer than I anticipated it was going to be, but yeah, good chat. Omar, thanks very much for coming on and talking to me. Thanks ever so much for tuning in as well. Fair play to you that are still awake at 11:20 at night. Hopefully some people will come back and watch this podcast as well. Thanks to Purity for continuing to sponsor us. The code #VillaView gets you 10% off everything they have to offer. We'll be here for a match preview at some point. Villa obviously playing on Monday next week. So, yeah, look out for that. Subscribe with your post notifications on and you'll know exactly when that's coming. Only one thing left to say, up the Villa.
Up the Villa.